LIEnette is suing 6 more people. Yep, I've got all the legal documentation right here. One of those being Corporal Gregory from the Levy County Sheriff Department. Now, I'm not so sure it's the brightest idea to sue a deputy or a department or somebody from the department who's literally letting you get away with breaking the law, and now you're trying to put them before a judge. Keep in mind, I have no doubt part of the planning, part of the process was to not include myself in this lawsuit, thinking that Judge Craig DeThomasis would preside over this lawsuit because there is only one civil judge in all of Levy County. It's DeThomasis. He gets all civil suits. Now we have 2 judges over criminal, but he's already been found by the appellate courts to be biased against me and for LIEnette, which means he legally cannot preside over this case whatsoever. The hero squad who came in to help save Lloyd is all being sued by LIEnette. Now, let's make it extremely clear here. It's not LIEnette. It's her quote unquote lawyer. LOL, because it's a joke. All of this is a joke for fame, for notoriety, which we will give none towards that individual. Which I find interesting that these people want to say that I somehow have control over all these individuals that went in to help Lloyd. Yet I wasn't even there. Yet I can't even get George, Deanna to leave Florida with a massive hurricane coming. Now, ask yourself, how much control and power do I really have? Except this individual who calls himself a lawyer, who has now prepped himself by creating an LLC in the state of Maryland because he knows the crap he's stepping in and what he's getting himself into. He's prepping for countersuits against him personally. He knows something's coming and is going to happen, and yet he's telling LIEnette to do this. Do you think he told LIEnette that she would be legally and financially responsible for any countersuits? Do you think he told LIEnette that suing 6 individuals means that there will be 6 attorney fees that she will be held accountable for? She will have to pay the attorney fees. Do you think he's mentioning all of this with all of these lawsuits? Or do you think he's just skating by thinking, well, it's no money out of my pocket if I get something great, and if she gets something, well, maybe I get a little more. Except neither of them are going to get anything, as you can see. Here we go. In the 8th Judicial Circuit, and for Levy County, Florida. That's Levy County, the 8th Circuit. Michelle Preston. Well, let's look at this here. Michelle Preston and H.G. Preston, and stating that through her mother, Michelle Preston, are now plaintiffs. So this individual is now stating that Michelle Preston is a plaintiff and H.G. Preston is a plaintiff, and that Michelle Preston is the mother of H.G. Well, let's figure this one out really quick. First of all, we all know who Michelle Preston is, right? We know that's the daughter of LIEnette Preston. You know, her old family calls her LIEnette, Lacey. Even Patty Plummer calls her LIEnette. Okay. So, and lawyers and judges and deputies. I mean, there's been quite a few slip-ups. You know, you get a nickname, which, by the way, we create the nicknames to actually protect the real names of these individuals, and it kind of sticks. Michelle Preston is the daughter of LIEnette Preston. So somehow, some way, Michelle Preston is now a part of this lawsuit, and it's claiming that Michelle Preston is the daughter of, Michelle Preston is the mother of H.G. Preston. I'm not sure why a full name wasn't put on there, but we all know this is LIEnette, who is being controlled, frankly, in my opinion, manipulated by this individual who wants nothing more than notoriety, which he has already claimed online. That's all he wants. He wants his name out there. That's all he cares about. He wants his name out there. He wants notoriety. And he's using and frankly, in my opinion, abusing LIEnette to get it. But you know what? He's going to claim that I'm doing the same thing. So let's see what happens here. This is a lawsuit versus Madam Mayor Therese, former mayor of Otter Creek, her husband, Deanna, Rex, the new owner of Shady Oaks Campground, Travis, and Deputy Sheriff Gregory, which he's not exactly a deputy. You understand that there's a difference between a corporal and a deputy within the sheriff department, even though I even times may say things such as, well, this deputy, that deputy, when they were a lieutenant or they were corporal. There is a distinction and there is a difference. It doesn't seem to me that that's the smartest thing in the world to do. But if they did something wrong, if they truly legally did something wrong, and I'll say the same thing about me, if I've truly done something legally wrong, I should be punished for that. The appropriate consequences within the law. Now, to this date, I've not been found guilty of anything. To my knowledge, I've done everything possible to make sure that I've done nothing inappropriate, illegal, or wrong. I go to great lengths to make sure that what I'm doing is legal and correct. So, complaint for damages. So this is interesting. So we have this whole camper situation, and now LIEnette is suing under the control, the power, the individual who has silenced her, taken her freedom of speech, just like she claimed Shart did before, and then she fired Shart. And now Shart's claiming she has voluntarily removed herself from this entire situation. Well, considering some of the things that Shart has said about LIEnette, that's probably a pretty smart move, because Shart's going to be up on the witness stand in federal court at a bare minimum. All right, so complaint for damages. Now comes the plaintiffs, Michelle Preston and H.G. Preston. Why are we not using names? By and through their undersigned's attorneys. Oh, no, I'm sorry, attorney. My mistake. I said attorneys because this attorney in Massachusetts, because can't practice in Connecticut, is actually utilizing and controlling, dare I say, manipulating another lawyer in Florida. And you're going to see the direct evidence of this once we get to the end of here. All right. So undersigned attorney, even though the reality is it's one attorney who drafted this and then used the name of another attorney, which is 100% and completely and totally illegal. Okay, and files their complaint for damages and would state as follows. Number one, plaintiff Michelle Preston is the minor child. Wait, I'm even getting mixed up with all this insanity. Number one, plaintiff Michelle President. No, she's not a president. We should not be voting for her for anything, even though she tried to get votes in an election, which means public figure. All right, you get that, I get that. All right, she's a resident, not the president. She thinks she's the president, resident of Otter Creek, Levy County, Florida. Number two, and we've got plaintiff H.G. Preston is the minor child of Michelle Preston. Number three, we've got Madam Mayor Therese is a resident of the state of Tennessee. Number four, her husband is a resident of the state of Tennessee. Number five, Deanna is a resident of the state of Florida. Number six, Rex is a resident of the state of Florida. Number seven, Travis is a resident of the state of Florida. Number eight, Deputy Sheriff Gregory is a resident of the state of Florida. Now, I don't know if any of this is true. I do not know where people hold their residency, and frankly, nor do I care. My residency is in the state of Ohio. I do know that 100% for sure, and that's really all that matters to me. Page number 2 out of 14. Number 9. Oh, wait, facts to all counts right here. Here we go. Here are the facts for this complaint. Number 9, beginning in or about the summer of 2023, non-parties Jeremy Hales and George fabricated a reality drama for their content on their YouTube channel, What the Hales, centering on the plaintiff, Miss Preston, and her ex-husband, with whom she resides, John Crook. Well, let's just stop right there. Number 9. This is not her ex-husband. This is her soulmate that she's getting back, unless she's on the phone or discussing anything with anybody about John. She wants him gone, and I want to make it very clear, he's my ex. Okay, so let's just wrap our minds around this number 9. Facts. You saw this, right? Facts. Okay. Do you think a judge, when a judge actually reads this and sees the real facts, knows the real facts, is going to agree with this? So George and I purchased property. And well, let me get really specific. Let me get extremely specific. I purchased property in Otter Creek. I put that property under contract in 2020. The contract finalizes and the sale is finalized in 2021. And shortly after, as I'm showing some of the rug deals that are going on my property, as if roughly 4 acres were turned into a local dump, there were encroachments, and the list goes on and on. I start to be stolen from with water. LIEnette gets in her mind she's going to move to Otter Creek as well because she's watching this YouTuber, What the Hales. Now, isn't it interesting that this doesn't say that this was a fabricated story about the town of Otter Creek when I purchased property. It doesn't say it's a fabricated story about me being stolen from. It doesn't say it's a fabricated story about what's happening and the corruption in Otter Creek, let alone Levy County. It says it was a fabricated story beginning in or about 2023. Well, we can throw that out immediately because LIEnette and Crook showed up in 2021. So we already have the time. We already have the screenshots. We already have all the evidence. And what did they do? They inserted, very aggressively, inserted themselves into my life. Now, the What the Hales YouTube channel is a documentary about my life. It's the news of my life. It's what's going on in my life. So you see this here, fabricated. Fabricated, right there. You see that word, fabricated. Okay, let's see. Did I fabricate purchasing the property? Was that a written storyline? No, it really happened. Did I fabricate the rugs that are happening on my property? No, it really happened. Did I fabricate being stolen from by the town of Otter Creek? No, that really happened. Did I fabricate buying storage units? Nope, really happened. Did I fabricate? You see where I'm going with this? Just because it's filmed doesn't make it fabricated. There are a lot of people who were filming the presidential debates. Did it happen? Did the current nominees actually have a debate? I mean, it was on TV and everything. Was it a storyline fabricated, or did it happen and therefore it was recorded? Huge difference between fabrication and this is reality of what's really happening. And you're going to see that word reality yet again. Just because it's recorded, which most things are in today's world, almost everything is recorded. Look at this, 911, right? We know that. This happened. Planes go into buildings. It's horrific. It was recorded. Was that fabricated or did it really happen? We all know it really happened. It was all over people's cell phones. There were phone calls from the planes on the ground. It all happened. There's nothing fabricated about it. It's just being videoed as it happens. And that's what happens with What the Hales. It's videoed as it happens. It is news. People are interested. So much so that these fools stalked us into Otter Creek. 2021. Not 2023 by any stretch of the imagination. All right, so centering around the plaintiff, Miss Preston, and her ex-husband, whom she resides, John Crook. Let's be very clear. What the Hales doesn't center around anybody except me. Now, you could say, Jeremy, that's odd. I think it centers around George as well. You see George anywhere here? What the Hales centers around the name of the individual, Hales. Now, George is a big part of that because George is a part of my life. Now, George didn't try and insert herself into my life like LIEnette and Crook did. I invited George to be a part of my life. There's a huge difference. Huge difference. Just like I've invited Deanna to be a part of my life. Just like I've invited other friends to be a part of my life. Or, you know where we're going with this. You understand, none of this is fabricated. It's just being videoed as it happens. All right, number 2. No, 10. Huh, I got Mary math there. I'm sorry. Or it might have been Landon math. You know, I died 3 times in one night. I had 5,000 seizures. All right, number 10. The theme of the What the Hell's reality drama was bad neighbors. We could just stop right there. The theme of What the Hales is What the Hales. If it was Bad Neighbors, then the name of the channel would be Bad Neighbors, right? No, it's What the Hales. The theme of What the Hales is literally in the name. Okay, so number 10, the theme of What the Hales reality drama was Bad Neighbors, and it was originated based on the false premise that Miss Preston stalked us to Otter Creek. Well, that's odd, because that false premise has already been proven true in the courts. So this is going to be really difficult for them, considering this false premise has already been proven and documented within the courts. Based on the false premise that Miss Preston stalked us to Otter Creek by purchasing property located across a road where Hales and George owned property in Otter Creek. Again, major issue. George owned none of the properties. George doesn't own this property. George doesn't own that property. George doesn't own the schoolhouse. George owns her property. And frankly, I don't even own this property. It's all within a trust. I don't legally own this property. So, again, major errors. Okay, let's keep going on. Number 11, Hales and George have used Miss Preston and Mr. Crook and a 4-year-old H.G. Preston as a fodder. Now it's a fodder. As a fodder for content on their YouTube channel. Well, this is odd considering the individual who is guiding, directing, manipulating, using LIEnette is the one that told her to do this as a fodder to get his message out about ridiculous mac and cheese. How foolish could this be? This is literally pot calling the kettle black. Well, maybe he'll call LIEnette black because she claims she is, right? Okay, so we have this whole thing in number 10 on the false premise that Miss Preston stalked us to Otter Creek, purchasing property. At number 11, Hales and George used Miss Preston, Mr. Crook, and a 4-year-old as fodder for content on their YouTube channel, subjecting them to harassment, bullying, stalking, defamation, invasion of privacy, thousands of menacing and vulgar comments by What the Hales fans on social media, messages, phone calls from strangers threatening Miss Preston, strangers making false child abuse reports, resulting in dozens of visits from Children Protective Services. Geez, should we just take this line by line? All right, so number 1, nobody with the What the Hales team ever asked to be stalked. And nobody should ever be stalked. End of story there. LIEnette and Crook intentionally, knowingly, willingly stalked us to Otter Creek. They baited us into finding if I did live across the street from a piece of property that went up for sale, which her story is she's been watching it from 2018. You can't watch a piece of property that isn't for sale in 2018. It was never for sale. And yes, we have all the information and evidence for court and the real estate agent, and we could go on and on, right? So number 1, she baits me into using my tractor, coming over. She confirms that I'm there. Then she goes back to Northport. Then they put their house up for sale. Then once it sells, then they put an offer and it's accepted on that piece of property. That's stalking. They intentionally stalked us to Otter Creek. All right, so let's keep going on then. Subjecting them to harassment. Well, let's be very clear. I've never harassed LIEnette or Crook, and especially not a 4-year-old child. As a matter of fact, I've done the best I can to completely and totally stay away from them and keep them away from us, despite the constant harassing text, communication, all the posts. That went on for roughly a year before we even exposed any of this. And it wasn't just me, they were doing it too. And yes, all the receipts remain. No matter if LIEnette goes to a judge, look at my Facebook, look. And the judge goes, I don't care what's in it now, I care what was in it then. All right, so obviously we're not harassing. We try and stay as far away from them completely and totally as possible. To the point, the harassment was so bad that we got civil protection orders against them. Now, if we were harassing them and not the other way around, wouldn't we have civil protection orders against us? Oh, but we don't. Now you can go, well, she got that fraudulent one with Judge Craig DeThomas. Agreed. And it's gone. It didn't stick because it was fraudulent. All right, so let's keep going on. Bullying, I can't think of any bullying that has happened whatsoever. By the way, we must have this complete and total different definition of bullying. Leave me alone. No. I want your money. No. Okay, so I tell them leave me alone. They don't. Crook literally stalks me, parks his vehicle on my property, then tells me if I touch his vehicle, something's going to go bang, bang. Then they come up and concoct this lie with Shark that he was going to the grocery store barefoot and runk as usual. Okay, and we could keep going on and on, right? We could, but we don't need to, because this is completely and totally foolishness as well. So there is no bullying, and we obviously have a very, very different definition of what that is. Stalking, yes, that has happened. They've been found guilty of it. But here they're saying I'm stalking. Isn't that interesting that I don't communicate with them at all? She breaks the civil protection order. Even though I can communicate with them. I can communicate with all three of them. Legally, I can communicate with all three of them, and I don't. Legally, I can go to the flea market on Saturdays and make sure they have to leave, but I don't. Legally, I can go where they're getting free food and then throwing it at fences and putting it in blessing boxes and then telling people I'll pop a cap in you if you come on my property, but I don't. Yeah, I know where they're at because they post where they're at. But I don't go there because I don't want them around me or near me. And yet somehow I'm called a stalker. Defamation. Well, if it's true, it's not defamation. And everything I've said can be backed up 100%. Oh, invasion of privacy. Wait, weren't they the ones that were found guilty stalking, invading my privacy? Yes! And they must stay 500 feet away. Haven't they broken that multiple times? Yes! Were they found guilty? Yes! Could you imagine the judge looking at this? And it won't be DeThomasis, it'll be Davis, who has already warned LIEnette, get out of my court. I don't want to see you again. Can you imagine Davis looking at all of this and then going, well, here's all the information. Here's what she's done. And why is this all about me and I'm not even a defendant in it? So far, all we're seeing is Jeremy and George, Jeremy and George, Jeremy and George. We're not even listed as defendants, and this whole thing is based on Jeremy and George. All right, defamation, invasion of privacy. Thousands of menacing and vulgar comments by What the Hale's fans on social media. Who says they're fans? How about the tens of thousands of vulgar and malicious comments by haters and trolls? How about Shart, what Shart has said? How about what this lawyer has said? How about what LIEnette has said and posted? How about what Crook has said? I mean, are there no consequences for these individuals? But we want to put down here in writing thousands of menacing and vulgar comments by What the Hale's fans on social media. How in the world are you going to prove thousands? How in the world are you going to prove they're What the Hale's fans? How in the world are you going to prove anything? Social media. How do you think people know about LIEnette? Well, Shark's put out quite a bit of information about LIEnette, hasn't she? LIEnette is going on, and it's all screen recorded, and it's all prepped for court. Literally going on other channels on social media and speaking. Now, don't get me wrong, it's all edited, right? You get that, I get that. Messages, phone calls. Wait, isn't it LIEnette who told everybody, if you have a question, contact me? Oh, yeah, we have that screenshot. Isn't it LIEnette who's going out on social media and talking about this? I mean, edited, but still, isn't it LIEnette going on social media on other platforms? Yeah. Can you imagine being Judge Davis? Oh my goodness. Calls. Isn't it LIEnette who's posting her phone number all over the internet? Yeah, that would be LIEnette. Has Jeremy or George ever done that? No. Jeremy and George keep to themselves. You push us, by all means, you're going to be shoved back. There are consequences in life, whether there are individuals that want to believe there aren't. So, all of a sudden, Miss Preston and the strangers making false child reports. Dozens. None of this is false. This child is not being cared for appropriately, let alone the animals. And anywhere else, dare I say planet, although I'm not going to stretch that far, anywhere else in the United States, this would never, ever be taking place. This is so sad on behalf of Levy County and their complete and total derelict of duty, their complete and total ineptitude of actually caring for somebody who is defenseless in this situation. I mean, But the individual who wrote this cannot deny that if this was his daughter in this care, that he would not be okay with it. As a matter of fact, I don't care what you think about me, what you think about George, what you think about What the Hales, what you think about social media. Anybody who has seen the things that have been shown, which are not fabricated, which are 100% real, would not be okay if, number one, they were living in it, or if, number two, they had a family member living in it. To try and justify it because you want fame and money, that is the lowest of low of patheticism. I just made that word up. It's pathetic, but it's patheticism. And I'd say that's a good ism for this individual. Okay. All right. And we go on number 12. Never before or currently has there been another major YouTube content creator devoting their YouTube content almost exclusively to targeting a private person or persons, let alone elderly, poor, disabled. Let's just stop right there. First of all, while What the Hales is in the largest 0.5% of all YouTube channels, there have been plenty of channels who have dedicated this to their neighbors, which is why you heard the Thomases say Bud Love, which sounded like butt love for Crook, so often. So obviously there has been quite a few channels that have covered this and have gone through these experiences. And I can name some currently in Florida that I'm friends with, stalkers, and what they've done, and they've been in court, and the list can go on and on. But never before currently has there been a major YouTube content devoting their entire content almost exclusively. That's funny. Devoting their entire content almost exclusively. We have over 2,000 videos. Guess what that content is devoted to? My life. Yeah, that's it. My life. It's devoted to my life. By the way, you know what the smallest percentage of videos is? Otter Creek and the stalkers. LIEnette and Crook. Smallest percentage of anything we've done. Largest percentage? Treasure hunting. Now, as we tried to find treasure in Florida, that was completely and totally disrupted by these dysfunctional individuals who wanted money and fame. And the person who wrote this wants the same. So we have this whole thing, never before currently has been a major YouTube channel, has devoted their entire content exclusively. Our entire content is very, very limited in regards to LIEnette and Crook. To a private person or persons, let alone the elderly, the poor, the disabled. I'm not the one that called her elderly. And nor do I have any control over anybody's age. I'm not the one who called her poor, nor do I have any control over somebody's income. That would be her control, right? That would be his control, right? I could be very poor right now. I could be homeless if I made that choice to be homeless. Guess who has control over that choice? Me. Nobody else in this world has control over the choice of whether I live at Hales headquarters or whether I'm going to be poor and homeless. Because every day I get up and I work every waking hour. And when I'm sleeping, I dream about, what can I do next to make a difference? And I dream about how's this impact going to move and inspire others. And LIEnette doesn't do the same thing. Crook doesn't do the same thing. We know that for sure. She goes on about elderly, poor, disabled. Boy, I would really love to see these medical records of this disability. Now, I think we have been completely and totally fabricated. Lied to. LIEnette continues to claim she can't walk. She can't even pick up 5 gallons of milk. And yet she can do an 18-hour round trip to Chiefland, pushing a stroller with a almost 5-year-old in it. Not only that, she can run out to cop cars with no problem whatsoever. Not only that, she can literally pick up entire shelves, as Deputy Gregory says, hey, will you please let me help you? And she drags it with one hand as she's on the phone. One hand drags it where a man my size would have had another person helping him and tosses it. Does that seem like a physical disability? Now, if LIEnette is truly getting disability income, I 100% believe, with no proof whatsoever, it is mental disability. And she won't let anybody know that. As a matter of fact, I am going to push in court for a mental evaluation because this is not okay. So disabled, I think not physically, but that is my thought. That is my process. That is how I feel and think about it. That doesn't mean it's true. By the way, just because you go, well, my truth, or I think, or I feel, doesn't make it real. Doesn't make it. Obviously, somebody's saying all this garbage. They think it's true? No, that doesn't make it true. A judge is going to determine whether it's true or not. Truth is not relative. Whatever you think, whatever you feel, my truth, your truth. No, that's not the way it works. Try that in the court of law. Well, judge, I believe I am not guilty. And a judge goes, you're guilty. Well, judge, I told you my truth. I'm not guilty. Judge goes, you're guilty. Get to jail. Yeah, try that in the reality of the real world. Doesn't work. So now she's elderly. She's poor. She's disabled. With defamation, didn't happen. Bullying didn't happen. Stalking didn't happen. Harassment didn't happen. Invasion of privacy didn't happen. Legal threats. That's not a legal threat. How in the world can you call it a legal threat when I literally state I'm going to get a civil protection order and I do it? That's not a threat. That's a reality. I think people have a drastic misunderstanding of when I speak. When I say something, it is going to happen. It is not a threat. It's a reality. And I can't stand it when people sit there and go, don't threaten me. And I have to sit there and go, this is not a threat. This is reality. This is going to happen, which did happen. She will be back in court in Ohio. She is in federal court for extortion, defamation. 100% guaranteed she wrote those signs. As a matter of fact, the affidavit was just signed by the forensic handwriting expert, which I have the full report, which they're begging for, which they will get at the appropriate time within the hearing. So, why in the world are they projecting all the things that they've done to me and saying that I've done them? Oh, stochastic incitement of thousands of strangers. Yeah, it never happened. As a matter of fact, I have video after video saying, don't ever contact anybody out of Creek. I've been saying this from the very beginning, before I even started to expose what she was doing, which is news. It's journalistic news. It's journalistic investigation. And man, Levy County is crazy, isn't it? Incitement of thousands of strangers by casting the targeted person as a villainous character in a fake reality story. Can you believe this? Fake reality story. So this didn't happen? Okay, so a fake reality story. All right, so I bought property in Otter Creek. I was stalked to Otter Creek. I was extorted. I was defamed. An individual pulled a gun out on me, and it's literally filmed. That was fake. That same individual went to jail for over 40 days. That was fake. This isn't fake. This is reality. So fake reality. This is reality of my life. This is the news story of my life. This has happened, and my life gets videoed. There's nothing fake about this at all. Nothing at all. Oh, don't get me wrong. I wish it was. I wish this had never happened to me. I mean, you can, my closest friends, my closest allies, my loved ones, you can ask them, does Jeremy enjoy this? Not by any stretch of the imagination. I just had a very, very extensive phone call with 2 people this morning. None of them will tell you that I want this to happen. I want it to all go away. I've looked at an island. Last year, George and I looked at an island because of this. Now, I know you're thinking, island, that's millions of dollars. No, this island wasn't millions of dollars. It was 9 acres. It was 9 acres, and it was very affordable. And the reason why it was so affordable is because there was no transportation back and forth to the mainland. And so we looked at it so that we could never be stalked by freaks like this again. And this past month, we looked at another piece of property so that we could get away and put the 70 acres up for sale and get away from these freaks in Otter Creek and never be stalked again. Now, that piece of property, the island, wasn't practical. The piece of property we just looked at last month, it sold to another interested party. So we are still in Otter Creek at this point. That doesn't mean we'll be there forever. It doesn't mean we even want to be there, but we are there. Now, what I will say is we love the precious people of Otter Creek, the good people. And we love the area. And for our business plan, it works very well for us to get to Tampa, get to Orlando, get to Pensacola, get to Tallahassee, get to wherever we need to go, wherever the auctions are. We are the middle of the hub, and it works so well, better than we ever anticipated. And we have the schoolhouse. It's very, very, very hard to leave that schoolhouse because that building is perfect for what we do. But you see the ridiculousness, fabricated, it's fake reality. This is insanity is what it is. When they are real life persons involuntarily being made into public persons for the purpose of being targeted and destroyed for YouTube content. Really? Involuntarily? So involuntarily, I must have controlled LIEnette in the courtroom where she filed a motion on her own asking Craig DeThomas's could she still run for town hall in Otter Creek. I forced her to be a public person? Oh, I must have also forced LIEnette to create It's a Shell thing, her tortoise and turtle rescue, because she wanted money from me because I always said, I love turtles. And she thought she would do that and get money from me. Yeah, I did that? No. LIEnette created the 501c3. And yes, I know her 501c status is expired. She's in a ton of trouble with what she did not do, what she legally had to do with that anyway. So now it's stating that I did this to target her, and yet I never knew of her until she targeted me and came to Otter Creek. And now they want to call me a vexatious litigant. When I say I'm going to sue somebody because they did something wrong, that's the appropriate way to handle things in the court of law. If somebody's stealing from you, such as content, you take them to court. If somebody's defaming you, in other words, saying something that's completely and totally false, it's not true, you take them to court. That's the way our country works. This isn't a third world country. This is the United States of America. And when I tell you that's what's going to happen, that's exactly what's going to happen. That is not a target. That's not for destruction. That is for accountability and consequences for illegal activity. Point 13. Hails. Do you see a common theme here? Hails. Have you heard one of the actual defendants yet? Yeah, me either. All right, so number 13. Hale's use of his channel against Miss Preston has taken such a toll on Miss Preston's time and energy and emotions that has virtually destroyed the ability of Miss Preston and her daughter to live a normal lives. Okay, normal is not pooping in a bucket. Can we all agree on that? That's not normal. That's not okay. Normal is not screaming and yelling on a cell phone all day or on Facebook and making derogatory posts all day. That's not normal. Normal is waking up in the morning, having a good meal, getting yourself cleaned up, going to work. Wait, except there's not any work being done because normal isn't allowing constant rug addicts in and out on the property, illegally living in sheds, in tents, in campers, stolen campers. Is there anything normal about this? Anything at all? I mean, how in the world have I caused this normality in her life? It seems to me normal is not being a stripper and then saying, well, now I'm a minister. But by the way, I'm so glad of how I used to work when I was a stripper. You realize those two do not correlate at all. Not at all. I've said this before. I'll say it again. Christians go, I was wrong. Please forgive me. LIEnette goes, I'm so glad of what I did. I don't care where you fall in on the stripper part or the minister part. There are some who love strippers, hate ministers, some who hate strippers, love ministers. The point is she's trying to meld the two together. That's not normal. It's not normal to go to food banks, get more food than you actually need to feed yourself, and then drop it at your neighbor's gate where it's rotting for their animals when people in Levy County could have eaten that food. It's not normal to beg and plead for money from your neighbor. It's not normal to write signs that say I don't even want to go there. You already know what the signs say. This life is not normal, what she has or what she's done by any stretch of the imagination. And it has nothing to do with Jeremy Hales. Her life is a pattern of the same thing over and over and over again. And yet, the author here, which is not LIEnette, wants to say that all of her time, all of her energy that she should be using to clean up that dump, right? Time, energy, resources, and emotions. What if she actually got motivated? Her emotions got motivated. She went, I want to live in a very clean environment. Oh, normal is not bringing elderly individuals on your property, taking advantage of them. Normal is not saying, oh, I want to sue him, I want an injunction on him, but I'm going to plead the fifth. Plead the fifth. Is there anything normal? No, there's not. She's using all of her time and her energy and emotions that have virtually destroyed the ability of Miss Preston and her daughter to live a normal lives. Living in a shed, that's normal. That's just normal now, right? Any other place in the United States, this would have been dealt with the authorities appropriately. Normal is not getting a rug baby and then plastering that about that baby all over the internet. Normal is not telling a child you're going to die if you do this, if you talk to people, if you touch people, if you do anything. That's not normal. What that does is destroys a child. I have nothing to do with her. I have nothing to do with her life. She invaded my life and made it abnormal. To live normal lives, to spend the peaceful and joyful time together. Really? Because the neighbors will tell you that place is anything but peaceful. It is screaming, it is yelling. Is normal being married 7 times, being divorced 7 times, then living with your ex, and you tell everybody that's your ex, and then you tell everybody that he abuses you, that he's a runk, that he's selling his rugs? That's normal? Wait, I obviously I've done it all, right? It's me. I feel like Taylor Swift. It's me. Wrong. It's LIEnette. It's Crook. This isn't a normal life. They are not normal individuals. They are very unhinged, insane, and very, very scary. Very, very threatening, very, very volatile, very, very unpredictable individuals that the mother and child would consider priceless, can never be recovered or replaced. Countersuit. Can you hear it now? Countersuit. Mr. Hales, this has taken such a toll on Mr. Hales and his fiancée, George, that all their time and all their energy, their money, their emotions have been poured into protecting themselves from these individuals who have threatened their lives on multiple occasions. All their time, all the energy, all the emotions. It's virtually destroyed their relationship. It's virtually destroyed their business, their ability to even live peacefully. Can you imagine the countersuit that's going to come from this? Do you think LIEnette was told about all of this? Oh, Mr. Hales and George, they just want to live normal lives and spend peaceful, joyful time together. That's why we bought the property in Otter Creek. That any man and woman would consider priceless, and it could never be recovered or replaced.